Welcome to the Kingdom Men Transformation podcast, brought to you by our sponsor, the Acquisition CEO. If you want to buy or sell a business, be sure to hit them up on the website. I've got a special guest on here, Tiana Miller, and we're going to talk about mind, body, soul, and getting physical and getting fit. How are you today?
That's right. Can't complain. How about you?
We're doing pretty good. Tell us, what are your favorite things to do? Or like, how'd you get into physical fitness? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
It's a really funny story. So my very first workout was when I was 7 years old. It was a Jane Fonda workout video.
Gosh, Jane Fonda.
It still had the plastic on it because I have never and will never see my mother do a workout.
So Jane Fonda, and then Suzane Summers was a thing too, the Thigh Master.
She was. It was.
I remember that.
I actually reference her in my Friday yoga class every day at 10:30.
Jane Fonda or Suzane Summers?
Suzane Summers.
Suzane Summers.
But yeah, so when people ask what I do for a living at networking events, I just tell them that I'm a cross between Jillian Michaels and Jane Fonda.
Okay, that's pretty awesome. And you had a saying earlier we were talking about before we got started. What did you say? You said fit as a what?
I sweat like a pig and work like a dog to look like a fox.
Oh, that's so funny and so catchy. So, and your social media. So you're on Facebook. You got a YouTube channel.
Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat,
all the things.
Since I'm always jumping and squatting and punching and kicking and lunging and teaching and training, I don't have or make a lot of time to make myself pretty and sit down and get in front of the camera and, spend the time on the TikToks and the YouTubes, but I do.
And what gym do you train at?
So I train at Iron House. It's on the Greenville-Spartanburg line right there on 29 Warren H. Abernathy Highway, and it is actually the same colors as the walls in this room.
That is true.
It is black and green. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
That's cool. Well, let's talk about physical fitness. So, one of the things that I love to talk about, or a handful of things I love to talk about, are like mental, physical, spiritual, emotional connection, and how to operate in harmony and kind of be in alignment. Like, because our body is a big energy machine, right? So we're vibrating. This thing works on frequencies. I sleep to certain frequencies. And a lot of people aren't familiar with that. So let's just talk about being physically fit, and let's talk about health and diet and all those things, and some of the conversation that we've had on Facebook about a lot of people that get frustrated because they have 100% expectation, they have 50% of the work ethic. And I know you were telling me about some clients, and that's what happens. The scale's not moving. And I run into that when I coach people. They're like, "Oh, I'm not getting results. My marriage isn't getting better. I'm not getting better physically. My business isn't getting better." And it's because they have 50% work ethic, or they're 50% committed. And what I've found personally is, like, you just got to make the choice. Like, you got to decide who you want to become or what you want life to look like. Like, we're going to die, right? So we might as well live with some sort of purpose or intention. When you talk about getting in the gym, what are some of your favorite exercises?
So I focus on the core because the core is the center of you. The stronger your core is, the stronger everything else is.
Core and like posterior chain?
Yes.
Okay.
But not like the girls on TikTok, and not because it's the cool thing to do.
Glute strap.
All right. That was what my client requested to do this morning, was glutes with the glute strap. But just your core, because nobody comes to me and says, "You know what? I have a rippling six pack, don't need to work on it."
That's
and nobody comes to me and says, like, "I love my belly. It's my favorite body part."
Favorite thing.
But we don't just do it for looks or for aesthetics. We do it for health. The number one telltale sign of having a heart attack is belly fat.
Oh, wow.
And, everybody wants to look better, feel better, do better, and you're going to be better at your exercises. I was telling a client this morning, we were doing bicep curls, and I said, suck it in, tuck it in.
Hold it tight.
We don't have to be doing sit-ups or to be doing crunches to work your core and work your abs.
Yeah, no, any exercise where there's stability involved, whether it's like you were saying, curls or anything like that, even tricep extensions or even bench, you can engage and brace your core. But you're right. Even as we age, some of the areas that we age the quickest in, or we have problems with as we age, are like our hips, our knees, and our core. Like, nobody really gets older and, can't sit down because their elbows hurt. They can't sit down because their knees hurt or their hips hurt and those kind of things. And so we just don't move those things enough, nor really build strength in them. I agree with you 100%. Like, our core is critical to, like, overall longevity of health. So core is important. What else is important? Posterior chain, we talk about that a little bit. What's your 2 cents on that? Like hamstrings, and not necessarily glutes, but just the other parts and back and lower back, because people have back problems as they get older.
Right. So I don't just focus on strength. I focus on mobility, stability, flexibility, and coordination. Actually, I do a lot of things where you cross your right and your left over. I say I'm working your brain and your body, your mind and your muscles.
Okay.
And because it's just something that people don't think about, and that mind-body connection that we're talking about. But also, I focus a lot on the posterior chain. I focus a lot on stretching and mobility, because the whole reason I got into yoga was because I didn't choose to do yoga. I had to do yoga. I couldn't bend down and touch my toes. And
was it just from lack of stretching or lack of?
Yes, it was. I ran cross country in college,
so
I was
tight.
running 100-mile weeks, and you run for an hour or two, and then you might bend down and touch your toes and count to 10, and that's it. And
But that's a lot of work on your legs to run for 2 hours.
So I thought that the problem was my back. My back was killing me, just to bend over and pick something up.
Tight.
You do this right here, and went to 6 different chiropractors. They took x-rays, and I was like, I'm going to have cancer before you figure out what's wrong with me, and they gave me adjustments, and it just wasn't helping. And so it turned out that it was muscular, not skeletal, and I just had to stretch.
Is it because your hamstrings were so tight?
Yes.
Like it was just pulling all that together?
Your glutes, your hamstrings, your IT bands, your hip flexors, your psoas, your calves, your Achilles, they're all connected, and everything affects everything. And so if one is tight, they're all tight, and it all just pools in that lumbar, pools in your lower back. And so I had to start doing yoga. Now I love yoga. When I first started doing yoga, I was like, man, this is so slow.
Right.
And,
not lifting
I was
any
like,
weights.
I'm not sweating.
There's no excitement.
I'm not sweating like a pig so that I can, I'm not feeling like a fox. But so then I found hot yoga, and it changed my life. Now I do yoga and sweat simultaneneously, and I don't feel like I need to go on an 8-mile run.
Right, yeah.
Because I was like, I'm doing yoga and I'm stretching out, but then I'm running and I'm undoing everything I just did.
It's so true.
But I want my clients to look better and feel better. And I tell them, if you come to one of my classes or one of my sessions, you don't walk out feeling 1% better mentally, physically, or emotionally, you get your money back.
That's good stuff.
And if we're 1% better every day, 100 days from now we'll be 100% better. Yep. And that's if you do yoga or work out every day.
That's exactly right.
If
you got to do something
once a week. That's 100 weeks from now, which is basically 2 years from now. Which is it's better to be better 2 years from now, but I would rather be better 3 months from now, just in time for summer.
So what I always, yeah, exactly. And people, we'll talk about New Year's resolutions here in a second. But what I always try to tell people is, do it more than you don't. There's a simple I love the concept of simplicity. So there's 7 days in a week. So if you get physical 4 days out of the week and you don't for 3, you'll make progress. Like if you take 4 steps forward and 3 backwards and 4 steps forward and 3 backwards, you make progress. But also you get addicted. Like good habits and bad habits are addictive. And so when you get in the gym and you start feeling better and you start looking better and you start looking at yourself in the mirror and you build more self-confidence and you can move and you can function better, both in life and in personal stuff like playing with kids and doing all the things, it gets addictive. And then you're like, well, maybe I ought to go one extra day. And then you're like, oh, it's Saturday morning, I think I'll go to the gym. And then you're like, oh, it's Sunday morning, I'll go for a walk before church. And then you're like addicted to the getting betterness of it. But you made a good point about being connected mentally, spiritually, physically, or what would you say, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, or physically.
Physically, mentally.
Yeah, connected in those areas. But extra physical movement's a big part of that, right? Getting in alignment. And it doesn't have to be complicated. A lot of people, they think when they set goals, they're like, man, I'm never eating sugar again. I'm going to run 100 miles a day. I'm going to do it every day for the next, 400 years. And it's like, hold back the train up, homie. Like you don't work out at all. Let's just pull it down to being reasonable. Let's go for a 30-minute walk or a 10-minute walk. Let's just get started. And a lot of people, they're intimidated by the gym, right? They're intimidated by the weights and all the equipment and all the things. So maybe you've got a couple of tips to give somebody, like keep it simple, right?
Yeah. And so I have 15 12-minute workouts in my paid group for my clients. I have a paid group for my clients on Facebook instead of a YouTube channel. 12 minutes a day. Anybody can do 12 minutes a day. I don't care how busy you are or you think you are or you say you are. I'm busy. I work 14-hour days. I left my house at 7 o'clock this morning. I won't be home until 10 o'clock tonight. And I'm driving from Inman to Spartanburg to Travelers Rest to Duncan to Greenville, back to Spartanburg, back to Inman today. And guess what? I'm working out today.
Hard work.
So, right.
Yeah.
So, but I have 12-minute workouts on there. And you can do 12 minutes in the morning, 12 minutes on your lunch break, 12 minutes at night. You can do 6 minutes in the morning and 6 minutes at night. You can break it up into 3 and do 4 minutes at a time. I don't care.
It's not
12 minutes a day. If you're going to eat every day, if you're going to brush your teeth every day, move your body every day. It's that simple. If you don't brush your teeth every day, they're not going to look good or feel great.
That's right.
And if you don't move your body every day, it's not going to look or feel great. Period.
Yeah, and I think that's a myth that people think is, and as you do more and you get more physical or whatever it is that you enjoy, you may want to do more of it. But in the beginning, it's not complicated. It's like I tell people all the time in those boxes, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. It doesn't take a lot of time to get in God's word. It doesn't take a lot of time to meditate. It doesn't take a lot of time to do breath work. It doesn't take a lot of time to eat properly. And it also doesn't take a whole lot of time to work out. Like you can hit a good workout, like fast, like 30 minutes. 12 minutes, I know you've got those things, but like 30 minutes, you can absolutely crush it. Actually, probably harder in that kind of a session than like a weightlifting session that's an hour long, because you're taking more time. And you're getting a lot of benefits of like the short muscles, and then also like sweating and the cardio if you're moving faster and you're doing like a circuit or some sort of thing like that, versus just hitting the gym for an hour and doing something totally useless.
Because I watch people every day that, they're there for 2 hours, but they're on their phone. They're talking to the guy next to them. They're taking selfies.
They're in the leg press, just
so they're really only getting 30 minutes of work anyway, but their heart rate is going down in between. And so I prefer to work with business owners who are busy and who don't have a lot of time but are willing to make time. And, I work with them. I work with their busy schedules, and I try to get them the most for their money. And I switched it up and do something different. One of my clients I trained this morning, she signed up with me because she said she did the same thing at Planet Fitness every time for 20 years, and she was bored. And so she needed to switch up her routine, and variety is the spice of life. So I just have her doing different things. I had her doing wrist curls, and she was like, I just want to do a bicep curl, And I was like, we have to strengthen the small things. You've done 1,000 squats, and 1,000 sit-ups and 1,000 push-ups, and you have to work the little things and the big things too. I had a client last week that we did a TRX workout.
TRX workouts
I try
are hard.
to add new certifications as I go, just like you do. And so during COVID, when the gym was shut down for 7 weeks, I got certified in TRX because I was like, let me make the most of this time.
That's a great, actually simple workout.
And so you're using your own body weight and you're not stable. And so when you take out that stability, you're squeezing everything. You're working more than just, instead of just doing a bicep curl, then you have to tighten your abs. You don't have a choice. You don't even have to think about it.
Well, you're working your stabilizer muscles.
Yeah. And so my client came in yesterday and she was like, I'm still sore from Thursday.
And it's those small muscles, right? Like you were talking about, like wrist curls and things in the core. Like I was using TRX bands to do some like knees over toes work. I do that once a week. Same thing for like your knees and your ankles and all those things. They all matter. If you like, my personal goal is to be healthy and fit for a long time. I don't want to. I just want to lift more weights and be bigger and all that kind of stuff. And maybe everybody that gets in the gym and is a gym bro wants to go through that, and that's great, and it has its place. But then you get to a point, like I tore my left hamstring off the bone probably like 4 years ago, and so I had to recover through that. And so I wasn't able to do a lot of squatting or really much of anything, especially with my left leg. And so then I had to figure out how to recover it. But what it was from all those workouts and no stretching. It was from the exact same thing. And it's funny because I had a lot of lower back pain. Like my lower back was always killing me. And I thought my back was hurt. I thought I hurt it one time, but it was actually in my hamstring. And so once I started rolling those things out and stretching my hamstrings, I was in a very similar spot. I couldn't touch my toes.
Right.
And so it was funny, like 2 years ago, I was like, I'm going to stretch every day. And so I finally got to the point, no, it was longer than that. It was 6 or 7 years ago because I hired a coach, actually, not a fitness coach, but just a life coach. And one of the things that he was talking about was yoga. And so what he made us do is we had to do yoga once a week. And so I could not touch my toes at all.
Right. It's alarming how many people can't.
Yeah. And so I was like, I'm a loser because I can't touch my toes. And so then after that, I was like, as I get older, I got to be able to touch my toes. And then I went to one of my daughter's dance classes. And they made the dads do like with the kids. And so we sat in there. We were all stretching for the little dance class.
Right.
And then again, I'm like, I can't. I'm like, oh, can't touch my toes. And so I was like, screw that. So now I make sure that I train. But I also didn't train my hamstrings or my glutes and hips specifically. And so now I make sure that I do hamstring exercise and that kind of stuff. So maybe a big takeaway from that or from this is people with lower back pain, it may not necessarily be related to your lower back. It could be muscular related. It's probably related to weakness and tightness in the posterior chain.
Yeah. And my yoga classes and my personal training sessions are geared toward helping people because I can specialize in that, fortunately or unfortunately.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, you can relate.
Been through it, yeah.
But you want to be mobile.
And I tell them all the time, I feel your pain.
Literally.
Right. So, and you can speak from experience and, help people to not feel the pain that you have felt. But my goal for every yoga class is for their hips and their hamstrings to feel better and lower back.
I think you should say that more on the internet and maybe you do.
I should.
But a lot of people, that's what they think about. Like, oh, my hips hurt, my lower back hurts, all these things. And we're not really made to be in that kind of pain unless something is wrong. I had a girl tell me
last week she couldn't come to my class because she was having hip pain. And I was like, ding, ding, ding. That's what it's for. I was like, welcome to the club. Well, I'll get matching T-shirts.
Right. Welcome to the hip pain, back pain club.
And I told her, I said, if you come and your hip does not feel 1% better when you leave, I will give you your $10 back.
Yeah. So real quick, let's talk about nutrients too. Because one of the important pieces about moving your body is getting the blood and oxygen into your joints and those kind of things. It's how our body heals. But a lot of times we don't have the nutrition in our diet to actually have like healthy blood to flow into the joints and those kind of things. And then a lot of people that lift in the gym, they just lift and they don't lift with enough movement. And that's why our elbows hurt. It's why our fingers hurt. It's why our hips hurt a lot of times. Obviously, these are not the end-all be-all for everything. But nutrition in our food and the things that we eat plays a big part in our overall like longevity and being mobile and those things too. Tell us a little bit now. Do you do dietary stuff, recommendations, those kind of things?
I do, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. What's your thought process on foods people should and shouldn't eat?
So pretty much I say stay away from anything white. White rice, white bread, ice cream.
Ice cream? What if it's chocolate ice cream? I'm just kidding.
You sound just like my clients.
Right?
That's not the first time I've heard that.
I know somebody's got to ask that question.
But I say if it's green, eat it. If it's brown, eat it. You know, if it comes from the ground or a tree, eat it.
What about jasmine rice?
If it comes, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll allow it.
Because a lot of people, they ask that. I have a similar concept where I tell people eat real food.
Yes.
Like if it had a heartbeat or it was grown in the ground, eat it.
Yes.
If it wasn't, don't.
Yes.
Like those breads, that fried stuff, that breaded junk, the sugary stuff.
Right.
I mean, and even like people are like, well, what about whole wheat? I'm like, whole wheat's actually really terrible for you as well. It's bad for your gut. But jasmine rice.
I do gut health and I do gut health supplements actually.
Yeah, gut health is a huge thing too. It's our second brain.
Yes.
And
I have two rules about that, and it's just the grocery store. If it's around the outside of the grocery store, eat it. If it's on the inside of the grocery store, don't eat it. And if it's going to go bad within a week, eat it.
It's a good thing.
If it's going to stay good for a year, don't eat it.
If that expiration date's out there.
It's really that simple. And people make it so much more difficult than it has to be.
It's so funny.
And they come to me and they ask me, can I have this? And I say, I don't know, can you? Yeah. But I tell them, if you have to ask me, the answer is probably no. You're not going to go to God and go, can I kill somebody?
Right.
You know not
That's
to do
not
that.
a good thing, right?
If you have to ask, you probably already know.
That's so funny.
The answer. You're not going to come to me and say, can I have spinach? You know you can have spinach.
Right.
You're not going to come to me and say, can I have grilled salmon or grilled fish? Because you know that you can have that. If you have to ask, the answer's already no.
Let's bust another myth too while we're talking about food and nutrition. And people always say it's more expensive to eat healthy. And I disagree with that 100%. So I buy a case of 60 eggs a week. It's $5.68. We buy ground beef. We buy jasmine rice. We buy a big pack of chicken, thighs and chicken tenders. And we probably spend, and I eat a lot of calories. We probably spend $250 a week to feed our family. But we cook real food, and then we have food in the fridge. A lot of people, they go, oh, no, it's more expensive to eat healthy. I haven't had McDonald's in I don't know, probably 15 years. I don't even actually know the last fast food I ate, but it's expensive. So I do know that. So I know for a fact, like if I eat 6 eggs for breakfast, that probably costs me like 20 cents. If I go to Bojangles and I go through the drive-thru, it's going to cost $10, you know?
Exactly.
So I don't think that is I don't think it's a common thing. Now, people, when they say eat healthy, I think they get confused with like the idea of organic, but that's also a big myth. It's just a label. So a lot of people, when they say, hey, it's more expensive to eat healthy, they're really saying it's more expensive to eat organic. But that's just a marketing thing, which most food and nutrition is a marketing scam or scam.
Right. And I'll tell you what's expensive. Starbucks is expensive.
Starbucks, $6 for a cup of coffee.
Cartons of cigarettes are expensive.
That's exactly right.
Going out drinking is expensive.
Yeah.
Fast food and going out to eat is expensive. Soda and sweet tea are expensive.
Yeah.
You know what's cheap? Drinking water.
Yeah.
If and when you go out.
And exactly. Drinking water and also eating the healthy food off the menu. So if you eat grilled chicken, if you eat grilled salmon, if you eat, like, we go eat Mexican, I eat fajitas. So you get the rice, don't eat the tortilla usually, but it's meat and veggies and rice. It's not that terrible.
And life hack, fajitas are normally enough for 2 people.
Yeah.
You can probably just split it and then get away with not eating, with not ordering 2 entrees.
Yeah. So you can actually eat out and eat kind of healthy. It doesn't have to be like this whole no thing.
Right, exactly. I mean, I'm on the go all the time. I eat out all the time, and I make healthy choices. There, almost anywhere that you go, there are healthy and unhealthy options, and everything that you do is a choice. Everything that you put in your body, you're either feeding disease or fighting disease.
Oh, man, that's good. It's so true. I travel with a lunchbox, and I have in there tuna packets, bananas, and peanut butter. Like, I love me some tuna packets. And a lot of people are like, hey, what do you eat on the go? And I'm like, well, I carry 3 or 4 tuna packets with me. I'd carry some bananas and peanut butter. Again, the concept of just eat real food. If it had a heartbeat or it was grown on the ground, eat it. And if not, then don't. But it is funny what people think is health food or what marketing companies advertise as health food. And it's really totally the complete opposite. So that's good. That's good information. Is there anything else, like a top tip that you would give somebody to help them understand the value of what you do, but like not necessarily maybe just a physical tip, but a piece of advice where you could say, this is the number one thing that I think would make a difference in somebody's life?
Just everything that you do is a choice. Every choice that you make, you're either getting closer to your goals or further from your goals.
Mm-hmm.
And my life motto is just get up, dress up, show up, and never give up.
Man, that's so good. That's powerful. It gets me motivated.
Thank you.
Let's go work out.
Let's go.
Right? Go do some push-ups. No. Well, I want to say thank you for being on the podcast today. I appreciate you. And again, find you on Facebook, Tiana Miller.
Yes, Tiana Miller, personal trainer.
There you go. Thanks for watching the Kingdom Men Transform Nation podcast. Thank you, Tiana, for being on today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you to our sponsor, the Acquisition CEO. So if you want to buy or sell a business, hit up the link in the thanks again. Let's go do some winning. See ya.